Evening, everyone. Hi, this is Linda Romano and my grandson Michael, and we are here on Sunday evening live to talk about something I think is really interesting. So, the topic tonight is about I have a dream. What is yours? And this came to me today because I had the opportunity and privilege to hear a talk given by Martin Luther King Jr.'s granddaughter, Yolanda King, who is 16 years old. And she actually is carrying on his legacy in a beautiful way. She started giving talks and speeches when she was 9. And she is carrying on the dreams of her grandfather, which are her dreams as well. And her parents are very supportive. They travel around with her, and so that she can give these speeches and also get very involved in a program that they started, um, Realize the Dream Project. And at the end of the our talk tonight, I'll leave the link to their project. So if there's their website, so that you can look it up and see what they're doing. It's super cool. Um, the what they're trying to do is create 100 million hours of service by the 100th birthday of MLK. And his 100th birthday, I think it's going to be in 2 years or something like that. So this project is opportunities for all different types of service, and they're going to compile all those hours together. And as a tribute to Martin Luther King Jr., 100 million hours of service. So it's pretty cool. So something that I wanted to talk about tonight was your dream, what my dream might be, what yours might dream might be, Michael. And some of the things that she talked about today were 3 concepts of how to get involved and make a difference. So I thought maybe we could talk about that a little bit. She talked about love, action, and legacy. So with regards to love, that's the foundation for all of this work. It's love is equal to a force for good. It's a decision. It is compassion and equanimity, equality. So, what are some ways that we can express love? Now, I want to back up for just a second before I get into all this. Sometimes people hear all these fantastic stories about these people who do amazing things in the world and they affect millions of people. And then there's people who affect nations and then states and then cities. But we don't have to do that. That might not be what we're called to do. Even little everyday things can be part of us living the life and living, creating a world that we want for everybody. So, not to be discouraged, even small acts can really be very profound and significant. So, that being said, what are some everyday things that we can do to foment love in our world?
Huh. I was just thinking about that. I would say a really simple thing is just talking to strangers. And obviously we want to do that in socially appropriate ways. Sometimes it's not the appropriate thing to do, but a lot of times it is. And I think that from my experience, I feel a lot more connected to people when I'm leading conversations with strangers, getting to know people. And I feel like that can mean a lot to some people because sometimes people don't feel like they're seen or even that they're visible by others. Sometimes people are struggling with feeling connection themselves, and they need someone to listen to them talk about their life and about themselves. That's a simple thing that comes to my mind. Saying hi to people, being kind to people. When you see a need, fill it if you can. If someone drops something, pick it up for them. Like just genuinely being a good person. What are your thoughts?
Um, Something someone did for me one time when I was in line going through a fast food place, driving through fast food place. I went up to pick up my order, and I went to give my money, and the gal said, "Oh, the people in front of you paid for your meal." And it was like, "What? Who were they?" And they had driven away. And it was like, I felt so cared about, and like it was amazing. And I've seen that people do that in the grocery store too. They go to pay, and the cashier goes, "Oh, those people, whatever, they paid." So it was like amazing. That's pretty cool. Another thing too, I think, is being a good listener. Have you ever been in the store or somewhere and people just start talking to you? It seems like they want to tell you their life story or, whatever. That's happened to me many times. Yeah, I think those people just want to, have a person really listen to them. And not just then, I think all the time, to just be more cognizant of being a good listener is um, another thing. It's a little bit more expansive, but volunteering for a cause. Like, how about you've been thinking about the food bank, that is in your town, and you've been meaning to go over there for a while, to donate some stuff. And it's holiday time right now. And the food banks are always looking for more stuff during the holiday times. So that would like be a really easy thing to do. But anything that moves you, to volunteer for a cause, it could be simple, it could be complex, but everything helps. Um, is there anything that you could think of that you might volunteer for? What is there? Is there a cause that strikes you?
Moving forward in my life, a cause that strikes me is helping people develop healthy long-term relationships with the opposite sex. That's important to me because that influences, your marriage, the person you spend the rest of your life with, and who you choose to do that with. And then it also affects your children in a very heavy way, like very, very impactful way. So getting that part of our lives right can be really important. So that's a cause that I'm passionate about and that I work on with men right now, very part-time, but I mentor some men in that area. And that's a cause I'm a part of. In the past, I've been a part of like missionary work quite a bit. I was a missionary for 2 years and helped people develop a relationship with God. And that was super fulfilling as well. But other like those are the movements that I connect with the most. What about you?
Um, well, I was part of a nonprofit organization for a little over 12 years that I actually was the director, and it was a big calling for me. And that was Jesse's place in Rwanda. And our our purpose there was and still is to provide programs for mothers who have children with disabilities. And help them with nutrition and medical and, schooling, education, all that. So I've moved out of that in a huge way. I mean, I'm not involved in it in a huge way anymore, just in the kind of on the outskirts. But I'm becoming more and more interested in some other things now in my own community in Simi Valley. There's a group in Simi Valley that I want to get involved with that are um, it's called Peace. It's just called Peace. Actually, City of Peace. So what this group is doing is they are trying to get Simi Valley to be a national city of peace. And so in order to get to that place, they have to do certain things. So I'm thinking about getting involved with that. There's also the Samaritan Center in Simi Valley, which provides meals for homeless, unhoused individuals, and also other resources. My church is very involved. They're kind of like our sister, our adopted um, nonprofit. And so we do a lot of, food bank stuff for them. So I'm involved with that. So those are some of the things that I like and that pull me. So another aspect of love is action. You know, action is part of love. The other aspect is self-love. If a person doesn't really take care of themselves as far as feeling good about themselves and loving themselves and filling their cup up first, they really can't give much to anybody else. So it's really important. So I think self-love is, really, it's not selfish. It is not selfish. So it's very important to do that. And I think you've done some amazing things already in your life, Michael. I want to give you some accolades for that, for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, there's a book that I read once called Dangerous Love, and it was written by a man who spent most of his career as a mediator. And some of that was doing law mediation, but a lot of it was also doing transformational mediation, where it was more you would be hired independently by couples or family members or people who knew each other, and they were in conflict. And he wrote this book. And the main premise of the book is that true love, is not easy. It's not something that's hold hands and sing kumbaya. It's not something that is fluffy and light. Like true love, and we're talking about love as in not like a romantic love, but like a deep, like I will fight for you love. Like
Like
I,
like agape love, like love based on principle.
yes, unconditional love
Uh,
based on principle. And and his hero, one of his heroes was Martin Luther King Jr., because Martin Luther understood that principle, that love was not safe, that true love was dangerous, and it required risking one's life. And I just think it's so powerful because, like Jesus said, um, like when you love those who love you, what reward have you? But when you love those who hate you or those who are hard to love, he pretty much taught that that's where you tap into what true divinity is. That's where God is, right? And and to love our enemies and to turn the other cheek and all of this stuff. And it's just really cool to reflect upon to me, because there's been moments in my life where I've had people that needed me to stand up for them. They needed me to protect them. They needed me to love them, to be strong for them. And there's been times where I did step up to that plate, and there are times when I didn't because it wasn't convenient. And those moments where I didn't, I reflect upon that, and I just like realize moments too when I needed someone to stand up for me, and they didn't either for me because it was inconvenient. And I don't think that makes us bad people. I think that just makes us people, and I think that's where our growth lies, is in those moments, like where we find it difficult to love someone, where we find it difficult to sacrifice or to put away the ego and ourselves in pursuit of building somebody else. Whenever that feels challenging, that's where I think our focus ought to be, because that's where we can really transform into individuals that are much more closer to God, you know?
Absolutely, that is so true. The universe gives us the spiritual lessons that are made precisely for us. So it's up to us to learn the lessons, and it doesn't make us bad people when we, miss the mark. We just have to try harder next time and take a look at that, have an awareness of what's going on and what the message is that's trying to be given to us. And then, like you did, correct and correct and move on, self-correct, correct course correct. That's what I was trying to say. Course correct and move on.
Yeah. Like I just recently had an issue with somebody in my life. Um, and and usually I have really positive feelings towards them. And then they did something negative towards me, and I instantly had really negative feelings towards them. And I was thinking about it the other day, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, I love them when they love me, and I don't like it when they don't like me, or they're treating me indifferently. And as opposed to that unconditional love where it's like, it doesn't matter if you love me or hate me, like I will love you.
Yeah.
And that's powerful. And that was a big lesson for me recently, to realize where I need more practice, And I think when people are treating us poorly, or they're not behaving the ways we want them to, that's our blessing, because that's our opportunity to really love the way God loves. And that's our practice. Like people show up twice a week to jujitsu or something to practice their martial arts. Like that's our practice. That's where we practice dangerous love, right there.
Very good. Yeah. So we talked about love, and we talked some about action. What about legacy? So what kind of legacy do we want to leave? So to back up for just a second, the huge thing that Martin Luther King Jr. did to be successful, or to drive the civil rights movement to success, was he trained people who were willing to be nonviolent in situations where they were treated with violence. They were trained, and if they, during their training, could not take the abuse, that verbal abuse or whatever when they were training, they were told, you get slapped, you're going to get yelled at, you're going to get hit, the fire hose could be turned on you. You cannot retaliate. You cannot say anything back. You just have to keep going. Are you willing to do this? You're going to get arrested, possibly. Are you willing to do this? So it's a whole training in nonviolent communication and nonviolent action. So when you were talking about loving people who treat you badly, or that don't like you or whatever. The people who were in, stood with Martin Luther King Jr. during the civil rights movement were an astounding example of people who stood up to immense abuse over and over again and it was staged like the walk to Selma over the bridge. They knew that when they got over that, the Black people, but they were also joined by many white people who were also part of the civil rights movement and others. They knew when they went over the bridge, they were going over the bridge to Selma, Alabama, which was, there were people there that absolutely hated, any kind of um, integration of Black people into, into society, as far as equality was concerned. So they knew when they would cross over the bridge, they were going to get it, and they did. They were beat, they were, all kinds of horrible things happened, but they did it willingly. One of the reasons why is because the TV cameras were on, and they knew that if people in their homes could see this, it might change things, and it did. People were like, I can't believe I'm seeing this. This is outrageous. This has to change, That was very brave. So, and anyway, that's called action, love in action. Um, we may never be called to do something that extreme, but that I think is something to strive for, in our everyday lives for sure. Like if people don't like us because of our beliefs or whatever, every single person is an emanation of God. Their consciousness is just not at that place at this time in their path. So, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do, basically, is what it is. So it's moving forward, living life the way you would want the world to be. So it's kind of like an acting job. It's like act as if the world is, go around acting as if the world is the place you want to live in.
Yeah.
So talking about a little bit about legacy now. How can we leave? What can we do to leave a legacy of what we hold dear to us, and to pass on our dream to others?
Well, yeah, and when you say legacy, I think your legacy is to what degree you impacted the people around you. And some people have impacted many people, and their legacy is significant, like Martin Luther King Jr. And then other people have just as strong of a legacy, but just didn't reach as many people. Like, for example, like I'm sure there's people out there who have grandparents who made a big impact on their life and influenced them. And that person was impacted. So I think when we're talking about legacy, it's about the value that you're giving to the world. It's about the love that you're giving to the world, how you're impacting the world for good, how you're building people. And that can come in whatever form calls to you. And so your legacy is really just the end result of you following after your inner calling and fulfilling it from a place of love and giving that value, and the legacy will just naturally happen. And some people's inner callings are to literally change an entire culture, and other people's inner callings are literally just to help their posterity succeed. And then there's a whole spectrum within there. So
between. Yeah.
What are
It's
your
it's all huge. It's and all of those things are huge.
yeah,
Whether is it one person or your family or whatever it is. So I think legacy is, you know, something to have an awareness of within yourself from, the time you're young all the way until you go to the grave. Because I heard a quote today that said, "Be ashamed to leave the earth without leaving the world a better place." And I think we'll close with that. And I love you and thank you. Wonderful talk. I'm so
yeah,
grateful for you.
yeah, that sounds good, Grandma. I love you too. And I'm looking forward to I'm grateful for this talk because it's inspired me to focus more outside of myself and focus on building people, making that impact. Because it when you start to think that way, and it's like, okay, how can I build people up around me? It's pretty easy to come up with ideas. Like I feel like they just naturally come. It's almost like there's this infinite abundance of ideas on how to love. But you really have to it's like the solutions are in asking the right questions. And I think you helped me ask the right questions for myself. So thank you. I love
Oh,
you.
thank you. This talk that I heard today by Yolanda King inspired me too, to think that way too. So thank you so much. I love you. Good night.
Good night.